Welcome along to episode 801 of the Milk Bar. Jason Forrest here with you as ever. I haven't got the rest of the gang with me yet this week after the fun we had on episode 800, but a number of them will be back soon. More on that in the not too distant future. Meanwhile, what's on the show this week? We'll be talking to Paulus the Cabaret Geek about the music of Victoria Wood. Looking for Me Friend is his show, and it's going to be in our area in November. We'll be catching up with Jeff Wayne, finding out all about the War of the Worlds, the Soul Man tour, which is heading out across the UK in 2025. Manny Singh Kang joins us to talk about being ITV Fundraiser of the Year for 2024. We talked to Mind Your Language star Francoise Pascall all about a show which involves a cardboard cutout of Ronan Keating, which is opening in the one of the theatres down in London in the not too distant future. Shaun Wallace will be along to talk about the opportunities in further education for a bit of a career pivot, having pretty much done that himself when he's worked in further education in the past. Of course, he's a chaser and a barrister too. Plus, Dr. Hilary Jones will be popping along to talk about a new hospital which is opened up in Birmingham. That's all on the way on the show this week.
Welcome to the Milk Bar. 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 Welcome to the Milk Bar.
Now, when it comes to the music of Victoria Wood, it has inspired and amused for a few decades now. Somebody who's taken on the mantle is Paulus, the Cabaret Geek, and he joins me now to tell me about the show Looking for Me Friend, the music of Victoria Wood, taking place at the Old Joint Stock in Brum on the 14th of November, and then heading over to Stourbridge Town Hall on the 26th. How are you, sir?
I'm all right, thank you, Jason. Good to talk to you.
Good to have you along. Now, Victoria Wood, an amazing comedian, and so many songs that were part of her regular shows, and just an absolute talent. And bringing some of that to life, I think, is what we need in our world, isn't it?
Yeah, there's no doubt that the nostalgic aspect to our show is very, needed, as you say. Absolutely. We haven't changed the words to any of her song lyrics. So it's quite striking sometimes when I'm singing songs that she wrote in the 70s, but she's talking about getting nasty electric bills or regretting voting Conservative. It's like, oh, has nothing changed in 50 years?
And I think that's it. I mean, good comedy is something you can identify across the decades, and certainly Victoria's work allowed that to happen. How did you first come to the world of Victoria Wood, though? I mean, what inspired you to number one, pick up this mantle? But first of all, was it the love of the songs in the first place?
Yeah, my entry level to Victoria was as seen on TV in the mid 80s. And that's a show that I used to watch with my mum and my sister. And we sort of mention in the show, it's kind of rare to find a TV program you can watch with your kids that actually is enjoyable for all of you. But it managed it with this one. And I think over the months and months of doing this show, years now, and being interviewed so many times, I think I realise now that in some ways I'm just wanting to thank Victoria for making my mum laugh so much that she fell out of her chair. It's just something I'm constantly trying to say to someone who's not even here anymore.
Mm-hmm. But I mean, do we know how many songs she actually did across all these TV series, the albums, etc.? What's your pool of tracks?
So if you include everything that she has registered with PRS, so that would include full musicals like That Day We Sang and Icon Antiques, of course, there's over 200 songs. And what's, again, very striking, I think, is that not one single one of those songs has a co-writer, whether that be for lyrics or notes. She wrote every word and every note. And same with the sketches and plays and sitcoms too.
And yeah, just a huge talent and such a sad loss. And somebody I think would have a great commentary in the world of humour on where we are now. And we even Dinner Ladies had its moments whereby it introduced us to things that were affecting the workplace at the time. It spoke to a lot of people, and I think we would have seen an amazing full internet world with AI that Victoria would have had an amazing humorous take on.
Yes, it is indeed a great shame that we'll never know what she thinks of Angela Rayner or of Gogglebox or millions of things, as you quite rightly say. Yeah, and we, as fans, we lament that greatly. That we all know, don't we, that she had so much more to offer, whether that be directing or writing or more serious pieces. It doesn't matter. If you loved her, you grabbed everything she created.
Absolutely. And it's just her delivery as well. And obviously, looking for me friend is a phrase that you can't hear. And I can't do that justice in a Victoria Wood style, but I'm going to guess you can.
Well, as you can probably hear, Jason, I'm from the South. So I have no business, in many ways, I've no business talking or dealing in the works of a straight Northern woman because I'm none of those things. But I suppose if I was asked to say, if that's what you're asking, I'd say I'm looking for my friend. I'd probably say something like that.
And then, we know her, we know the way she delivered a lot of these things. So how does your take come on this?
I'm not impersonating Vic. I think it would be madness to try. You know, Michael, who plays the piano for me, and many of your viewers may have seen him on tour with Fascinating Aida as their accompanist recently. He's kind of Julie to my Victoria. And in between the songs, we play a game of sort of Victoria Wood tennis with catchphrases and bon mots from her sketches. But we don't try and be Vic and Julie. We are ourselves genuine fans who genuinely miss her and want to celebrate that with others. But we do attempt some extremely dodgy accents nevertheless. I think when it comes to the songs in particular, they're so fast. Most of them are ridiculously fast. And we do 21 of them in about an hour and a half. And Michael has, backing vocals and things to do in the show. And just in case you're wondering, they're only there so I can breathe, quite frankly, because it's kind of relentless, but it's tremendous fun.
So 10% of the catalogue, which means we've got another range of tour shows that we can see from you as time goes on. And there'll be titles to come there, I am sure. And you've got two fantastic venues. I mean, the Old Joint Stock is such a wonderful intimate theatre over in Birmingham. As you say, that's the 14th of November. And
sorry, Jason, let me just interrupt you there because that's sold out.
Well, that does not surprise me to say, because you've got a much bigger venue in Stourbridge Town Hall on the 26th of November. So that's the one we're interested in, really, isn't it? We were going to the same place, but we were taking a different bus route.
Yeah, but we are actually returning to the Old Joint Stock in March. And I think those tickets are already on sale, just in case people are desperate to see us there. But Stourbridge is definitely the destination for us for end of November, last date of this year for us.
And then you'll be back to it in 2025, which will be a treat for audiences across the land. So the next thing we need to do is get tickets then. So where they are available, how do people find them?
So we have a listing on our website, lookingformyfriend.com, of all of the shows coming up between now and next June. Even if they're not on sale, you can register to get a notification when they do go on sale. So popping to lookingformyfriend.com is the best thing to do.
And find the details and bits about the show, and of course, guess at some of the music choices that are going to be in there. I'm hoping there's at least one mention of a Woman's Weekly, whatever happens. So I think it should be quite a treat.
Can you imagine if I didn't do that?
There'd be hell to pay, wouldn't there? So
people would go.
It will be an amazing treat. This music, it deserves to be heard. And Paulus, you are the man to do this. Paulus the Cabaret Geek, thank you for joining us.
My pleasure. Thank you.
Jeff Wayne's War of the Worlds has been many things over the years, since its inception 50 years ago to the musical stage tour, which is heading out on the road. To tell us more, I'm joined now by Jeff himself. How are you doing, sir? You good?
I'm all good, Jason. Thank you. Nice to be with you.
Well, good to have you along. So I think, was it something like 1975? You first got the idea and the rights, and then it sort of progressed from there.
It did. And the original double album came out in 1978. So that's about 46 years ago.
This is a 35th anniversary that we're looking at here, isn't it?
You're not wrong about a 35th anniversary, but it's to do with when one of the singles called The Eve of the War, which is the main theme from the War of the Worlds, was remixed, and it went to top of the charts in the UK and in a few other countries. And it just happens that we're talking virtually to the day when it's 35 years ago that it happened. But not to worry, we're talking about today and tomorrow.
Absolutely. Now, but as it goes, I mean, that remix, the Ben Liebrand remix, I remember that coming out. So that makes me feel old. I know that much because it being so long ago. And I mean, this has sort of taken on a whole life of its own, hasn't it, this project?
The War of the Worlds and the Martians have taken over my life uh, in a way that I never expected. Because when I first composed and produced it, it was the height of the punk revolution. Disco was king of the dance floor. And there I was coming out with a double album, continuous play, no cuts on it, and linked together by a fantastic story by H.G. Wells and told by a Welsh actor. And I don't think anybody thought it fit into the sort of music consciousness of the way it did. I also, just as a memory, recall being asked just before it came out, doing a few interviews, what did I think the chances of it having any success? And the truth was, I answered thinking, if I can see it in the UK album charts for 1 week, just 1 week, I'd feel not just satisfied, but that I hadn't let all the amazing performers, musicians, artists, and even the record company down, not realizing that very soon after it was released and it spent 330 consecutive weeks in the British charts.
Well, yeah, and I think the initial sales were something like about 2.5 million copies in the UK, more than 15 million worldwide. The excitement around the singles that have come from it. I remember the re-release on CD being an exciting time back in what must have been the latter part of the 80s. And it's all of these things that have sort of fueled the fans' love for this, but has brought new audiences along the way.
Yes, and once it came out and had an acceptance by the public, and it was a youth buying public when it first came out. Plus, of course, the media and the critics. It all seemed to stack up in our favor, and it's had an unexpected life ever since, with so many different variations of what I first came out with.
Yeah, and merchandise as well. It's an album with merchandise.
Well, yeah, it has spawned quite a lot, in fact. Again, looking back over the many years, things that I would never have dreamed would be a merchandise type of item. But we're very careful with what we do. We don't try to overload the amount of merchandise. We make sure it's designed and manufactured well. I don't want to look like, from the War of the Worlds point of view, we're just milking a Martian in this case.
Absolutely not. But it's about protecting the brand and protecting the whole idea and concept of this. And we're going back, as we say, the best part of 50 years. And sadly, some of those stars who are on there are no longer with us, but their work lives on and comes to new audiences again through the magic of this recording.
It has, and you're absolutely right. As life, hits us, we lose people that we love, admire. And on my original double album, there's now less people alive, I think, than that appeared on it than obviously those that have gone on to be in our arena tours, our immersive experiences. But it's just one of those things that it's become a part of my life in a way that I never anticipated. And I'm now, as we play our arena tours, which we started in 2006, I'm actually physically been observing the type of people that come to see it. And it's gone sort of full circle, because when the double album came out and the singles that we had that were hits, it was a youth orientated acceptance. And now those people are grandparents. They brought their children, and their children are bringing their young children. And I see it at all of our tours and certain events that I might appear at. But what a life.
Absolutely. And it's a life-changing moment for you, and one which is, I'm just giving you a chance to show off your talents. I think at the time you hadn't had chance to do as much of the record producing side of things and then the creativity in this direction you're composing, because you were too busy touring with other people, weren't you?
Well, it was a combination of that. I always, until the War of the Worlds, Jason, I always considered myself proudly as a backroom boy.
Mhm.
You know, the guys that, or the ladies that get commissioned to compose media music, produce artists who have got great talent. And that's what I was doing. And I was doing a lot of it and enjoying my career very much. The War of the Worlds became the first project that I ever had my name above the title, so to speak, where I was the overall artist and had the good fortune of attracting some amazing guest artists on the original double album. So that's the project that I guess I stepped out a bit. And every tour since we began in 2006, I'm on stage conducting it. It's the payoff to everything because ask any musician or any artist that performs live, it's probably the most adrenaline pumping, exciting point in one's career. And if you're a composer like I am, and I'm talking to you from my studio, I live in Hertfordshire, by the way.
Mhm.
You know, even with computers and working with a team here in my studio, it's still, particularly at the composing and arranging stage, quite, I don't mean lonely in the sad sense. I mean, it's an alone type of career. So the complete opposite of that is getting out and jumping around on a podium for 2.5 hours and my own work. I'm sort of like uh, uh, where my feet are off the ground, you know, for 2.5 hours, and it's only when the show's over and I return to earth, so to speak, that I realize, wow, that was a blast.
You're kind of levitating in a tractor being held up aloft by a Martian ship.
Much as I'd like, I actually ask our crew every once in a while when we do a new tour, can you fly me in when it's my turn to arrive on stage or do something beyond me just being, you know, I come down, take a bow, and then get up on the podium. But they haven't yet given me any solution to that request.
The money spent elsewhere with the likes of a Liam Neeson 3D hologram. I mean, that's going to bring this show to life even more, isn't it?
Well, it was a treat to work with Liam. You know, my original double album for the first 4 or 5 tours, we brought Richard Burton back to life as a 3D talking head.
Hmm.
And technology changed to where now Liam Neeson is a full body in many of the sequences, holographic, not a hologram, but a holographic performance. And even this next tour, we've upped the ante because we've invested in brand new screen technology, all from tiny little LED lights, and the clarity, the 3D element is startling. And we thought we had a great 3D performance when we first started working with Liam, but he didn't threaten me to come out and say, I will find you and kill you if I don't look fantastic. But it was a pleasure working with him.
Absolutely, I can imagine it was, and a joy working with everybody else who's part of this production. I mean, the tour is sort of March time next year, isn't it? It begins in March, runs through into April. We're in Birmingham in the latter part of the tour, as it's the 18th of April that you'll be in Brum, our closest gig. But there will be people following you all up and down the country. I'm sure there'll be people attending several different events.
I've learned over the years, and with a lot of gratitude, you know, that we have sort of, I hope, earned fans that do come to see much more than just one show. I would never have dreamed it, but as I said, I'm very grateful for such commitment. You can't ask for anything more.
And alongside this, you've been supporting this year's album day. The obviously vinyl is the order of the day, and an interesting shade of vinyl was released for the 19th.
It's a double album of club remixes in bright orange and yellow, and we're launching it as part of National Album Day. It's called Ula de Bula, which, just for those who don't know what I'm talking about or what language I'm speaking, Ula is an H.G. Wells creation. When the Martians land and start terrorizing the Earth, or when they're dying at the very end as a death wail, Ula was a piece of music that I wrote to match those moods and that word. So when we did this double album, Ula and then dub, as in dub music, and then Ula again, but it's one word and it's pronounced Ula de Bula.
one to look out for in, say, a rather fetching yellow and orange double vinyl, which I think that sounds absolutely fantastic.
I know it sounds great, and very proud of it.
Absolutely. I expect nothing less because you are about the quality. That's the thing. I mean, you've never scrimped there, have you?
Well, I'd like to think not. I guess two main reasons. When I started touring the War of the Worlds, so that was in 2006, I sort of promised myself very quietly that if I was invited back to tour a second time, I wouldn't do it exactly the same way. I always want to treat it as a living work, to develop it in ways that as an arena production, it becomes more and more spectacular, not knowing that here I'm talking to you 18, 19 years later, and we're still doing these arena tours. And we've been all over the UK, Ireland, Europe, and as far as Australia and New Zealand. And never have I once produced the production the same way. There's always new and wonderful ways to explore it. And the other, as the second reason, is I've never wanted to feel that we're just taking it out of the box and doing it the same way so that the maximum amount of dosh can be earned. That isn't my raison d'etre, not with the War of the Worlds. It's to keep challenging myself, to give our audiences, our listeners, something that they'll feel, yeah, that was well worth the money that they've spent on a ticket or an album.
Yeah, it's more than a tour. It is an experience each time you see this, and I think that's really at the heart of what you're doing, and sharing what was originally, as you said, H.G. Wells' story in new and innovative ways, which sort of engage with audiences across half a century.
Yes, indeed. The thing is, when H.G. Wells wrote his story in 1897, it was it still is a dark Victorian tale. And he was writing it with a couple of viewpoints about it, Jason, because he was actually taking a bit of a pop at the expanding British Empire, which was at its peak during that period.
Mm-hmm.
And he was anti-invasion, no matter, and who wouldn't be, from one nation taking over another, even if it was your own country. So the Martians were the invaders in his imagination, who came from Mars with incredible machines, incredible weaponry, and the Martians themselves are like the size of a giant bear, and they're all brain, and they need the various machines to reside in with the weapons to really become a whole body, very bionic. That's a pretty cool concept, considering he wrote that idea in 1897. But for me, after I read the story, I also found it definitely wasn't a shoot 'em up, knock 'em down sort of sci-fi story. It had underlying themes, which really is what bound me to the love of this work, including about invasion, but it also challenges faith, hope, love, and all the key characters that we meet along the way have something to say about each of those subjects. All bound together by a very exciting and visionary story, the first science fiction story ever written.
It's been inspirational in its own right. Your work is exactly the same, and inspiring others not only to enjoy the event, but also, I'm sure, to many people who've written things. Even at the moment, some of the music is being borrowed to inspire people in the world of telephony as well, with the EE advert too. So it is everywhere, isn't it?
It is, and that one surprised me, but it's amazing how many people have told me, oh, we heard your music on the EE ad, and yeah, great, fantastic.
It's a joy to be heard wherever you're being heard. And it just shows the magic and the impact that this has had on so many people. myticket.co.uk is where you go to grab your tickets for the Spirit of Man tour of Jeff Wayne's War of the Worlds. The vinyl is out there in the wild, and of course you can get the original, and you can stream it these days as well, can't you? Technology's caught up with that too.
Certainly has. In a way, it's amazed me. I don't know how you feel about it, Jason, but to see vinyl still with a real following, when all any of us have to do is go on a streaming service and download or just listen to whatever we want to.
I think the artwork makes a difference, and again, that's somewhere else that your work wins out as well, isn't it?
Well, and not knowing in 1978 when it was first released that it would have such strength, and it's all been brought to life in our tours and our other productions. But yeah, what I wanted with the original double album was, I don't mean it in any elaborate way, but I always heard and saw it as sort of like a sight and sound project. The heart and soul of it, of course, being the music and the story. But I just felt if people would listen to a double album, that's a long ask for anybody to listen to. But to stay with it, to help it along, to see these what were original commission paintings, to read the script and the lyrics if they wished. And I now know, looking back all these many years, how many people have done just that. So I'm very, again, coming back to pride, I'm proud of what it has survived to be and continues to be.
Absolutely, particularly for the fact that on the vinyl version, you couldn't pause it. The cassette version, you could stop it in the same place and come back to it. But this is very much a sit down and consume item, isn't it? It's not about bite size.
No, you're absolutely right. I've also had so many people over the years who told me, particularly because it was a youth orientated double album, or the audience that first grabbed onto it, that so many people would listen to it in the dark so they could deliberately be scared just because the sound and the storyline and the things that come out in the double album just, I guess, are enhanced when you're listening to it in the dark. So that was an unexpected bonus, but I guess in truth, everything about the life of my musical version has surprised me. So that's just another one of those things.
Well, a miraculous soundscape, bringing fear when it needs to, and awe, and when it listens to the whole thing. I think it's an absolute. It is the iconic piece of work of its genre. Many have tried to copy what you've done here, but you can't beat the original. That is Jeff Wayne's War of the Worlds. The musical, as we say, out on tour in 2025. It is the Spirit of Man tour, and once again, myticket.co.uk to find your tickets. Jeff, thank you for joining us. Thank you for chatting, and thank you for sharing some of the history of War of the Worlds.
Thank you so much, Jason, and for inviting me onto your program.
Now, excellent news after Wolverhampton. One of our own has been honoured appropriately as ITV Fundraiser of the Year in the Pride of Britain Awards in their 25th year. Manny S. Kang. Hello, sir. Congratulations and very, very well done.
Oh, thank you, Jason. Yeah, tremendous few days and a brilliant Monday night. Real surreal experience, yeah.
Oh, yeah. I mean, to be invited up on stage, Dynamo having revealed that you are the winner, and then just casually pop into number 10 the following day to talk to the Prime Minister about it all.
Yeah, oh man, honestly, that was completely unexpected. We actually, believe it or not, they also gave us a cruise for 2 people anywhere in the world. So we got a holiday as well.
What?
It's just honestly, it was surprise after surprise. Yeah, it was epic. It's epic the way they produce the show, because it is literally, it's there for people, like the people of our country, and the celebrities who turn up are there at your beck and call. They're honestly, they're really approachable. They've obviously, I think, been told that this is the night for the people, and the way it's celebrated is really inspiring to see, and some amazing stories on stage, and to be one of them was just mind blowing.
Well, I mean, yeah, it is from you an inspiring story. More than £250,000 raised for Dementia UK, and the passion of talking about it. But it's not just the fundraising. It's not doing thousands, tens of thousands of steps walking around Molyneux or walking up and down the country to football stadia. It's the fact you have a passion for it, and you're sharing, your experience with others in the talks that you do in schools and beyond. So, it is truly deserved in your case. But the thing is, I know you're that humble, but it's not what it's about for you. But I know you appreciate the attention.
Without the sort of the attention, you don't get your message across. Whatever we do, we have to display. And, something like social media is used very negatively in a lot of sense, but it can also be used really positively. I've just been to a school today, and I took my award with me, and the reaction from the children and some of the comments I had from children, you could tell they felt inspired. They felt they wanted to also do something like this, and they can. And without me sharing it and showing it, and you guys covering it, that news never gets out there. So I think, when people say things about coverage and attention and fame, well, the coverage and attention and fame should be for people doing good things. We need more of that. So the Monday night was like probably like in this country, it's like the showcase piece of showing that type of inspiration.
And you have to say you are absolutely inspirational and a nice bloke. If anybody deserves this, it is absolutely you. And it is just so good to see. And as I know the attention you're directing is towards Dementia UK and the help they need and the work that needs to be
Yeah.
done and the research that needs to be ongoing. And it is all about changing lives. And I know that is at the heart of what you do. It is helping others.
Yeah, I mean, that if everyone chose one person to help, the world would improve straight away. And we're helping people that we're never going to meet, we're never going to speak to, and that's how humans should be. I always say to people, it's like, if you walked in the street and you saw a house on fire, you won't need to know who's in there. You won't need to know if you're connected to them in any way. Your natural reaction should be to call the most human as possible in that situation. And that's really important. I think we feel better straight away when we display those qualities in a more natural sense, rather than something like this award and then something being recognized. We should naturally, I mean, I long for the day that these kinds of things that I do become normal in society, and people just want to go out and help each other. Yes, we can sit and wait for politicians all our lives to make the right decisions, but people need help right now. And we can do it, and just by even your words and what you share and what you say, and that can make a huge impact. So we'll sort of carry on with whatever it is. It's Dementia UK at the moment. So I'm privileged to help. It's 1 million people are living with this condition, and they need help. They need help now. They need care. They need professionals around them to give that advice. And every penny that's raised is going into that.
And you're somebody who's clearly got a conscience, knows how to get people's attention and make a difference. But equally, you're a conduit for others to be able to help too, and we've seen that in the works that you've done, the walks that you've done, and the fact that you've inspired people to come along with you. And it's a shared journey in your case, isn't it? Whether it's eating a samosa to talk about things, or whether it's getting blisters with somebody you barely know.
And that is it. Everyone can play a part. From I had Connor Cody at the awards, and he's done so much stuff to help me over the time. People like Beverly Knight and Susie Perry, and even other people that I met last night, people of stature, people of fame, people of fortune. They can also get involved. But not only that, we had people who were elderly pensioners who came and joined me for a lap. We had, children with their parents who then got inspired to do their own fundraising at school. So being human connects everyone right at the, opposite spectrums of wealth and fame, and everyone becomes like part of the same like wave of, energy. And that's really important, that we connect to that common thing, which is we all want peace, we all want a bit of joy, and we kind of all have to use the same qualities to get there. So we might as well walk together, and I think it's just a better existence. Talk to people, always say talk to people, learn from them, encourage them to talk, and it improves us no end.
Absolutely. Well, as far as these humans go, you're one of the best, I tell you. And you've got an award to prove it now. Have you got your award there?
Yeah,
there we go.
Award. Yeah.
That
there
is
you go.
amazing.
Nice. It's quite heavy. It's quite heavy, and obviously, this award's been going 25 years. And everyone's been associated, from Kings and the Beckhams and all the footballers and stars and superstars, but it then involves real people. Like I'm just Manny from down the road in Wolverhampton, born and bred. So it just shows you what can be achieved. And there's pretty much no limits really. Just our thoughts tell us otherwise, and so like I said, I don't know what tomorrow brings really, but we just carry on doing our best.
Well, there's your best is certainly good enough, and it is making a huge difference, not only with the finances, the message, but also the inspiration that goes to others. And to say the work you've done in schools and workplaces has been phenomenal. I know that you get a great deal of support from your employer as well, don't you?
Yeah, Network Rail give me sort of free license. I sort of promote railway safety in schools, but they see what I do in the community and they see the fundraising and taking that positive message to children is really important because we can't just tell them what not to do. We've also got to tell them what to do, things that they can get involved in. If you're doing good things, you just won't have time to do the bad ones. A lot of time, children are just bored and got nothing to do. So then they get into a little bit of mischief. If we give them something to do, if we make them feel more positive about themselves, they just maybe won't go down that path. So, my employers are brilliant at giving me that playground in a sense to spread that message.
Well, keep up the good work. Long may that continue. Congratulations again. Well done on bringing up both VAR and
Yeah.
rail safety with the PM as well. I think both very
I
important
did,
things that
I
should be
did,
added
I
to the
did.
agenda.
It was very extremely, and it was a short and sharp meeting, but very down to earth. And we know prime ministers, no one's ever going to fall in love with prime ministers, but they've got a job to do, and our job is to get the message to them. And that was a chance for me to, sort of express some of my thoughts.
Well, I think you deserve that moment, absolutely. But again, congratulations, ITV
Thank you.
Fundraiser of the Year, Manny S. Kang.
Thank you.
Now, from the 5th to the 9th of November, down at the Drayton Arms Theatre in London, The World is going to be brought to life, involving a life-size cardboard cutout of Ronan Keating. The show itself has got rather a long title, which involves most of those words I've just stated, and one of the stars is Francoise Pascall, who's going to be Pearl in the show. How are you doing?
I'm doing fine, thank you, Jason. How are you doing?
I'm good, thank you. So, an interesting one. My wife fell in love with a life-size cardboard cutout of Ronan Keating. Explain more about this one, because it's an intriguing title to begin with.
Pretty long one, isn't it? Yes. I mean, when I was offered the part and the play, and I was told about the title, and I thought, my gosh, I mean, how can I refuse this? I've got to do it. And it's a play that features extreme diverse set of characters, and most of the characters are four women. The four women are they are so discombobulated. I love that word. In the world, they're in their own little world, their own little space, and it's a diverse set of characters which mirrors the infinite spectrum of life.
I mean, it's always good to see a play which is nicely representative, even including cardboard cutouts in its cast.
The script is actually referred to as a snowflake killer, because this is what it is. It is a snowflake killer. We're trying to say to people that we all have opinions, and we're not all right or wrong or whatever, but there's an absolute truth. There is no absolute truth. One person's angel is another's devil, if you know what I mean.
So a play that's going to explore the audience's psyche as they watch.
That's exactly correct. That's exactly correct. And it's based on that right that the play is central, the mantra to defend the right to be offended.
It's going to be an interesting challenge for the cast to bring this to life. But you're somebody with sufficient history, shall we say, enough experience, and having worked in all sorts of genres to be able to approach this in the right way.
Well, yes, I hope so. I mean, you can't always, even at my age, it's a very challenging thing to do, and I love challenges, and I welcome this challenge. Whether I can actually bring it to life, I don't know. I mean, that we will see on the night. It's the world premiere on the 5th at the Drayton Arms on the 5th of November. So we'll see.
Well, you've worked with the likes of Terry and June. You've worked on Mind Your Language on TV, Coronation Street, The Dick Emery Show. There's abounding amounts of theatre. You've even done Blankety Blank, so you are ready for anything.
You are funny. I'm ready for everything. I love it. Well, it's a comedy also, because I'm very good at comedy and I love comedy. So therefore, yes, it is a comedy, but it's also a shallow stage romp. It is not a shallow stage romp, but an acutely drawn a snapshot of contemporary society, but done with enormous wit and lots of laughs. Mostly at ourselves, we're mostly laughing at ourselves. So yes, I'm hoping that I can bring out this on that day. I mean, the 4 days that we're on stage, and my experience. I'm trying to actually bring my experience with the young people that I'm working with, because they are so good, so fantastic, that I'd like them to act. I'd love to be able to be, to be part of them, and not just be me as Francoise Pascall, actress that has done so many things, but as a person, an individual that is going into this play eyes wide open, and and hoping that they will take what I give them.
Well, I mean, the script is described as containing adult themes. I think grown-up themes is probably another way of putting it. There's adult language, there's misplaced loyalty, shallow celebrity culture, and delusion. So it's got, say, the positive and negative across the world and all of life.
I love the fact that it was written by a wonderful writer, P.T. Rose, that not many people know about him, and I'd love to, people to know about this writer, because he is the most incredible writer I have ever met. And to actually, read the script, and I laughed myself so much when I read the script. It was so funny, and at the same time, it was dramatic. There was that drama there, and the laughter, over there, and everything else, and it surrounds this little girl, granddaughter of her granddaughter, Sally, who lives in a world of Ronan Keating. And he's just a cupboard cutout, sitting in a sitting room, and sitting in a kitchen, and sitting in her bedroom, and you're going, what's she doing in the bedroom with him? I mean, really, she has a husband. Give me a break. What is all this about? But she's actually disillusioned, in her own little world, and she doesn't even take care of a child who actually who's a teenager, and who's a transgender girl who wants to be called as they. But when you do this play, you understand the whole thing. You understand why she wants to be like that, and the mother doesn't take any notice of her. Absolutely no notice. The only person that takes notice of her is her great grandmother, that actually supports her, and so she's and Pearl is me as a great grandmother. Can you believe it? I even got gray hair. And her great grandmother has such a support for her that she always turns to her great grandmother, not to her mother.
Well, Pearl is clearly somebody to be relied upon. You are somebody who can bring Pearl to life with all her wisdom and her worldly wiseness, and those opinions which are not going to sit well with some of her family and friends too. It's going to be an interesting time. The show is on from the 5th through to the 9th of November. It's taking place at the Drayton Arms Theatre in London, directed by Yvonne Patterson, adapted by Tegwin Burgess, and it can be found online at www.rkplay.net. Go along, find out more, grab your tickets,
Super.
and be ready for it. I think it's going to be good. My wife fell in love with a life-size cardboard cutout of Ronan Keating. It's going to be a massive billboard to fit the title on, if nothing else, isn't it?
Yes, absolutely. It will be unbelievable. I'm looking forward to it, I must say. I really am. A challenge, as I said, it's a challenging play, but I'm looking forward to it.
Oh, Francoise Pascall, a star for more decades than either of us probably care to remember because I grew up seeing you on TV. Have a brilliant time with the
Oh,
show and enjoy your time, break a leg, and make the most of being on stage in London this November.
oh, thank you so much, Jason. I really appreciate this.
Now, 1 in 4 Generation X workers maybe want to pivot their career. And with people teaching in further education being on average 47 years old, there's an opportunity to take up an interesting role and help experiences that you've had govern the world of others. To tell us more, I'm joined now by further education teacher, barrister, lecturer, and chaser from the chase, Shaun Wallace. How are you doing, sir?
And Mastermind Champion, you forgot to add that, Jason.
Okay, yeah, okay, Mastermind Champion as well. Okay, and absolutely lovely fella, which is the other bit which we haven't mentioned either. So, I mean, first of all, I mean, who would have thought there's people are going to turn up in a classroom and suddenly find you teaching?
Well, that was long before I became well known in the public eye, Jason. So I first started teaching when I was 25 years old because I was inspired by my own teachers in terms of them inspiring me to become a lawyer, and I wanted to emulate them in terms of trying to be a visual presence, especially in a rundown urban area like Hackney, for students, irrespective of their age, irrespective of their gender, irrespective of their sexuality, irrespective of their background, who wanted to change their lives. And the only way you can actually change your life that way, I always say, is through education. Because my mantra has always been this, Jason: in order for you to stay in control of your own destiny and shape your own destiny, educate your mind.
Absolutely.
So for me, it's important that being a visual presence, having that experience, and we are trying to attract people to the realms of further education because they've got the experience, they've got the know-how, they've got the means to actually teach the next generation who they're teaching. And we need to pass that torch of responsibility on to them. So I think it's very, very important that if people are going through what I consider to be a midlife crisis or a midlife career crisis, and you want that career pivot to actually use your experience to try and help others, then there is that opportunity through the means of further education. You don't have to be. You don't have to be. You don't have to have a teaching qualification. You can do it part-time. But the most important thing is that you're leaving that legacy, Jason, for others to actually be inspired by your message and for them to actually create their own career path. And for me, it's always about I want students who I've taught. I don't want them to be an equal version of me. I want them to be a better version of me because they're going to be passing that message on.
Because you've already done the hard work, knowing what you know, they can then use that and develop themselves to the next step.
Exactly. So I see myself now as a staging post. That's a staging post you want to look at. You know, guess what? You carry the message forward now.
Now, when it comes to, as you mentioned, it can be part-time. So this is something you can do alongside the work that you have already. It might be that you restructure your normal working hours, or it could be you're working of an evening, which again could fit in with a lot of people's lives.
Yeah, because sometimes, as I say, it's all about making that sacrifice if you want to make that career pivot. If you are in a sort of position whereby you feel that your career is in a rut, or you feel that there's that concrete ceiling above your head, which basically is preventing you from actually further career enhancement. But nevertheless, you have that altruistic attitude because you want to make that career change and you want to use your skills, your know-how, your experience to try and help others. Then, as I say, the platform of teaching in the environment of further education is a wonderful environment to be teaching in.
Absolutely. And I love the fact the number of times you pivot your career, when you fancy change of direction, you go for it. I mean, being a chaser on the chase, that's an amazing one. But it's obviously it's not all that you do. There's more to you even now than this.
Yeah, there's more to me than meets the eye, Jason. As I say, I'm still a practicing barrister. I've got a very important case coming up on Friday. I just finished filming a tranche of chase episodes. But for me, everything which is I'm governed by is my love of law, my love of learning, and my love of trying to use my skills to try and help others. So, when I was had my own career pivot, as I say, we've all had those sort of career midlife crises. I had mine just before my 40th birthday. I continued to actually teach to try and support my career, which I thought was going through a sort of moribund state. But what I used to do, I used to take students with me to court so they could see a lawyer in action, take them to conferences, see how barristers give advice. And I think it's important to use your skills. And I've done that in a sort of pivotal way because obviously my career was going through that sort of up and down stage. But students were inspired by that. Students loved that. It basically gave them the sort of the taste. I want to achieve what you've achieved. And it's wonderful because, as I say, over my career, I've taught over thousands of students. And, students have come up to me who, as I say, long after I've taught 10, 20 years ago, they said, Shaun, I remember what you did for me. You inspired me to wanting to become a lawyer or in the field of accountancy or whatever, because I used to teach business law at Hackney, in Hackney. And there can be no satisfying feeling, Jason, and to be told by a student that you were the source of their inspiration. Yeah. But what I want them to do is to carry that message forward. So if we do have people who have the same altruistic message as me, and there are that hidden army of people working in different industries who do want to have that career pivot, who do want to basically want to make a change for the young generation for tomorrow, who feel that, I might not have the necessary teaching qualifications. Well, you can. You don't have to be a teacher to teach. You can be doing it part-time. It can be flexible. You can do various courses to help you get the necessary qualifications, and then, as I say, go into the world of education, because you will be an inspirational tool for the generation that you're about to teach.
Absolutely. And it gives you a chance to find out who you are before you then go into teaching as well. Sometimes straight from university, it can be a little more difficult. And in the world of further education, you're actually obviously a next level up from the teaching in primary schools in the sort of course content you're teaching. So you get a great way of doing it. And the people you're teaching to want to be taught.
Yeah. And sometimes, there is that fear when you're going, you think at the age of 44, do I want to actually have that change? It takes courage to jump feet first, head first, whatever, to have that career pivot and wanting to actually go into a different particular field. It does take courage. But sometimes if you have that courage, fortune does favor the brave. Because if you do have that attitude, the one thing you can always rely upon is your wealth of experience. You can always rely upon that. But it's that wealth of experience which we need to tap into to actually bring into the world of education, as I said to you before, to inspire the next generation of people who want to learn.
Yeah, and with an inspirational speaker like yourself, I'm sure there are many students who've been moved on the way to great things in their career path. Where do you go for more information if people are thinking, hang on, it is time to pivot?
Well, if you do, as I say, there are various search engines or websites. So actually search for teaching in further education. Just go to that website. It's all there, what you need to see. Okay, and hopefully when you read that and you'll think, is that for me? And if you do have the belief that it is for you, then have the courage in your convictions to take that plunge.
Well, this is all backed by the Department of Education, working hard to get more teachers into further education to give the experience-based knowledge that people need. Shaun Wallace, I'll do the whole list: further education teacher, barrister, lecturer, chaser from the chase, and that mastermind champion. Thank you for joining us.
Thank you, Jason.
Now, Dr. Hilary Jones is in the Midlands for the opening of a hospital. It's a reopening, and it is going to bring a great opportunity for NHS waiting lists to reduce. And he joins me now to tell me more about what's going on. How are you doing, sir?
I'm very well, Jason. How are you?
All good here. So good to talk to you again, and good to see you in the Midlands. So which hospital are you at?
So I'm at the Practice Plus Group Hospital in Somerset Road in Edgbaston, which is just about to officially open today. And I'm really pleased to be here to have a look around and to hear about the fantastic relationship that it will have with NHS patients as well as private healthcare patients. So it's going to be almost a unique mixture of both. So it will be seeing NHS patients, reducing the waiting lists, which are pretty horrendous in this neck of the woods, as you know, in the West Midlands. Something like 500,000 people waiting for a hospital appointment, of whom 20,000 have been waiting more than a year. So they will be able to use the choose and book system and be referred by their healthcare provider, a GP or a physio, to come here as an NHS patient to compare waiting lists. And if people want to go private, as more people are these days, when it's affordable, they can choose to come here as well. So it's a blend of both NHS work and private healthcare work, which is going to help a lot of people in the long run.
So effectively, the NHS buying extra capacity to sustain where people need to be on the treatment scale that they have. And what sort of treatments are they offering? Is it a full general hospital?
The things that most people are craving and where there is most demand are things like orthopedic surgery, hip replacements, knee replacements, some shoulders as well, but also endoscopies. People with upper digestive issues, people with lower digestive issues. Endoscopy is very much in demand, and there is a long waiting list. Cataract surgery. So you've got people who are lacking mobility, who are in a lot of pain, who can't sleep. They've got abdominal issues, and unless they're seen quickly, you've got delayed diagnosis, you've got all that quality of life that is being lost. People who can't read properly because of cataract surgery. We need fast access to this kind of surgery, and that's what a hospital like this is going to be able to provide. They're hoping to see at full capacity about 8,000 patients every year, so that'll make a huge dent in the waiting lists in this region.
Absolutely, and so it allows people to be able to have that option. As a hospital which is opening now, literally by yourself this afternoon, you're cutting the ribbon and everything. It's got zero waiting list at the moment, and a patient's already lined up to start using the facilities as of, say, tomorrow.
Yes, they're seeing consultations as we speak. The theatres will open in a short while, in a few days or weeks. And I've had a tour, and it's state-of-the-art theatres. They've got X-ray suite is fantastic. Smiley staff are very welcoming, and that all makes it different. You want a healing environment. People need to know what they're going to expect when they get to hospital. What they want is efficient care. They want safety. All of these hospitals under this group have got 100% good or outstanding, good aftercare as well. It's really very impressive. And I think that people who decide to go private can know that they've got fixed prices. They know what they're going to pay. There's going to be no spiraling costs, no hidden extras. And at an affordable cost compared to many other healthcare providers.
So you're looking really at, I say, this hybrid method. And how long has this been in the planning? Do we know?
It's been in the planning quite a while. This is part of a group of 12 hospitals. This is the 12th. So there's plenty of experience amongst the group hospitals elsewhere. And they've refurbished this hospital, which was previously a clinic, but it's now state of the art. Building work is nearly finished. It's looking really good. And as I say, when you come into a clinic for a procedure, you want it to be fresh and clean. You want to be welcomed. You want to know what to expect and know that you're going to get the care that everyone deserves. And, I can honestly say that if I was a patient here, I'd be pretty happy indeed coming here.
Well, absolutely. And so to see the facilities, and as a GP, because even though we mostly see you for your TV work, you're still a practicing doctor, and it's knowing that you can then refer your patients on, and they're going to get treated quickly, whether it be a private or an NHS route they take.
Well, that's right. I mean, I've built my career on looking after patients, caring for them, understanding their needs, investigating them, diagnosing and referring them. And what people need when they get that referral is to know what to expect. And of course, I've been a patient myself. I've been on the receiving end of NHS and private care. And it's so important to know what the expectations are, to be clear about what's going to happen, to understand that it's going to involve some rehab and some physio, possibly after surgery. So all this is important, and it's part of holistic care. which certainly here in this hospital is an essential part of the treatment program.
Well, I mean, it's great to know that these extra facilities are there, that it is going to be available at a no cost at point of use to people when they need it, in addition to the extra private care that they'll be carrying out. So where can we go for more information and to select this Edgbaston-based hospital when it comes down to getting our own treatment?
If patients are seeing their GP today, they should remember that their healthcare provider, GP or physio or whoever, can give them options, a list of options about choose and book. So if they want to choose a location, if they want to choose a specific hospital, they can see if it's on that list of options to ask the GP to refer them to that particular place. So that is part of the NHS constitution. It's not something that a lot of people yet know about, but you can do that. And that includes private hospitals like this one, even if you're going to see them as an NHS patient. Doesn't mean you're going to pay for anything. You're an NHS patient, but you could get your care here. So if people want to find out more, they can contact this hospital direct on their website, and you can talk to somebody, make your booking, provided you've got that referral from your healthcare provider.
And which hospital, once again, is it we're looking for?
So this is called the Practice Plus Group Hospital in Somerset Road in Edgbaston.
So you have a good time touring the facilities. We look forward to, hopefully you'll see cake as well as ribbon cutting as we go through the day. Dr. Hilary Jones, always a pleasure to speak to you. Thank you for joining us.
Thank you. You take care now.
That's all for this week. Thank you so much for joining me. Episode 802 next week. I hope to have you along then. Ta-ra for now.
Goodbye from the milk bar. 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 Yeah. Goodbye from the milk bar. Yeah.